They say a woman's body is the prize, but the real secret? It's her mind that holds the key. If you can touch her thoughts, awaken her emotions, and make her feel desired without laying a single hand, she'll crave you in ways she can't even explain. You see, most men think it's the body that needs to be undressed to win a woman, but the truth? Her body only responds after her mind is stripped bare. If you want a woman to truly crave you, not just flirt with you, not just reply out of politeness, but ache for your presence, then you need to understand this. Women fall mentally before they fall physically. Let's get straight to it. There are three kinds of texts that don't just get her attention, they live in her mind. They echo through her thoughts when you're not around. And when you send them right, you don't just text her, you touch her. Without laying a single finger, ChatGPT said. You see, most men think it's the body that needs to be undressed to win a woman. But the truth is, her body only responds after her mind is stripped bare. The real power isn't in the muscles you flex or the outfit you wear. It's in the way you make her feel seen, understood, and desired without ever touching her. If you want a woman to truly crave you, not just enjoy your presence but ache for it, then you need to go beyond the surface. You need to learn the art of seducing her mind. And the tool? It's already in your hands. Your phone, your words, your intention behind the screen. The way you text can either make you unforgettable or just another notification she clears without a second thought. That's why there are three kinds of messages that, when done right, don't just grab her attention. They stay with her. They live in her imagination. They make her reread them in the middle of the night when she can't sleep. Because they didn't just come from your thumbs. They came from a place most men are too afraid to go. Emotional precision, controlled boldness, and the courage to express attraction without desperation. Let's begin with the kind of message that feels like a whisper in her ear. The kind that doesn't scream for her attention but effortlessly pulls her into your presence. This is where you use the art of the disarming compliment. You don't comment on her body, her beauty, or her makeup. You speak to something most people overlook. Something like, I love how your mind connects dots most people miss. It's magnetic. Or, there's a storm and softness in your energy. I'd be lying if I said it didn't intrigue me. These are not compliments. They are mirrors. They reflect back to her the depth she secretly hopes someone would notice. And when you become that someone, you create a crack in her emotional wall. That's when you stop being just a man in her inbox, you become a man she wonders about. And wonder is the first sign of desire. Then, once you've made her feel seen, it's time to deepen that connection. This is where the time-bending memory comes in. You bring up a shared moment, a feeling, a detail. It doesn't have to be big. In fact, the smaller the better, like saying, I still remember how your eyes looked when you laughed at that terrible joke I made. You tried not to, but you did, and it lit something in me. Or, that moment we walked past the coffee shop and you said something about the smell of cinnamon. That's been stuck in my head all day. It seems random, but to her it means one thing. You were present. You noticed. And now she's pulled back into that memory. Not just the event itself, but the way she felt being around you. Nostalgia is powerful. It turns seconds into echoes. When you make her remember, you make her feel. And then you give her something to imagine. This is the third layer. The bold imagined future. This is where attraction becomes magnetic. You say things that make her mind wander into a world where you two exist with nothing in between, not in a vulgar way, but in a vivid, emotionally charged way. Something like, if you were here right now, I'd be letting your silence fill the room while I read you slowly. Like a favorite book I never want to finish. Or, I picture us at 2 a.m., lights low, no distractions, just you and me, trading secrets like currency. When you paint pictures like this, you're not trying to impress her. You're pulling her into a world where she can feel the rhythm between you. A woman doesn't need you to chase her physically when you've already touched her mentally. Her desire grows in the spaces you leave. Her craving begins when you master the dance between what's said, what's felt, and what's left to the imagination. Most men think texting is about speed, replies, or getting to the point, but for a woman, texting is a space, a window into who you are, how you think, how you make her feel even when you're not around. And in that quiet space between messages, attraction is either built or broken. If your words feel cold, generic, or transactional, she won't feel anything. But if your words make her pause, smile, reflect, or blush, you've already won half the battle. What you type isn't just a sentence on a screen, it's an emotional impression. It's a soft knock on the door of her imagination, and the men who understand that are the ones women crave when the world gets quiet. It starts with understanding her rhythm. Not just her schedule or when she's online, but her emotional rhythm. What makes her heart soften? What makes her feel safe enough to open up? Most guys miss this because they're too focused on saying the right thing instead of feeling the right thing. When you text from a place of genuine energy, not forced, not needy, but grounded and real, she feels it. Women are tuned in emotionally. They don't read messages the way men do. They read the pauses, the timing, the tone. They feel your presence behind every word, every emoji, every carefully placed period or ellipsis. That's why it's not about sending long paragraphs or short flirty lines. It's about knowing what moves her emotionally, mentally, sensually. One of the most powerful ways to grab her attention is by breaking the pattern. If she's used to dry conversations or surface level chats, be the one who sends her something different, something that stops her scrolling and makes her eyes stay on your name. It can be as simple as a voice note that says, "I was just thinking about that thing you said last week. Still stuck with me." Or a message that says, "You ever notice how certain people feel like calm even when they're chaos? You're kind of that for me." It's not a pickup line. It's not a compliment. It's a reflection, a piece of your observation shared with precision. When you show her that you're paying attention, she starts to see you differently. You're no longer just a guy who texts. You're a presence in her day. The second layer is anticipation. Create tension, but do it with class. Tease without being crass. Let her feel like you're always holding back just a little. Not because you're afraid, but because you respect the slow burn. Send something like, "I'm not going to say what I'm thinking right now, but if you were here, you'd probably feel it without a word." That kind of message doesn't just flatter her, it draws her in. It invites her into your energy without forcing anything. She starts to wonder, she starts to fantasize, she starts to play along, mentally, emotionally, and yes, physically. Because the mind is the first place desire begins for her. It's not the image of your body she craves. It's the way you make her feel in hers. Then there's timing. A well-timed message is more powerful than a perfect one. Knowing when to say something is an art. Early morning, late night, in the middle of a quiet moment. Each one hits differently. A thinking of you at 11:11 p.m. says more than a string of texts during the afternoon. A random "wish you were here" when she's not expecting it carries more weight than planned flirting. You don't need to flood her inbox. You just need to send one message that lands like a spark. And when that spark is lit the right way, she doesn't just reply, she reacts. She leans in, she waits. She starts reading between the lines, hearing your tone, even when the message is silent. And in that space, she begins to crave more than just a conversation. The moment you understand that a woman responds more to how you make her feel than what you physically offer, your entire approach changes. It's not about expensive gifts, perfect photos, or rehearsed lines. It's about emotional electricity, the kind that flows through a message and makes her heart beat a little faster. Most men overlook this. They send messages to get replies, not to create connection. But the men who make her crave them are the ones who know how to spark curiosity, mystery, and warmth with just a few words. When you know how to text with intention, she starts checking her phone not out of habit, but out of hope. Texting isn't just a tool for communication, it's a form of emotional seduction. Every message can build a deeper thread between you and her, not by being overly poetic or dramatic, but by being subtly real. It starts with confidence. A woman can sense energy even through text. If your energy is insecure or needy, she'll feel it instantly. But if your words carry presence, if they feel like you're already whole, with or without her, that changes everything. The most attractive texts aren't the ones begging for her time. They're the ones that show you value your own. Messages like, "I thought of you when I passed that bookstore. You'd get lost in that place." Or, "The moon looked insane tonight. Felt like it was meant to be shared with someone like you." These aren't just words, they're emotional invitations. They let her into your world without asking her to take over it. Women crave men who are selective with their words, but intentional with their timing. It's not about how many messages you send, it's about the weight each one carries. A message doesn't have to be long to be powerful. A single sentence, if crafted with the right feeling, can leave her wondering about you for hours. When you text her something like, "You've been in my head all day, it's not fair," it's about emotional honesty with a hint of mystery. You're showing that she matters to you without losing your edge. That balance is what makes her lean in. She doesn't want a man who's too available or too distant. She wants a man who knows when to show interest and when to let her imagination do the rest. Another powerful element is vulnerability. Most men think vulnerability is weakness, but in texting, it's a secret weapon. When used right, it builds intimacy without oversharing. It can be something as simple as saying, "I didn't expect our last conversation to stick with me like this. You've got a different kind of energy." That kind of line doesn't just compliment her, it includes her in your emotional space. It makes her feel like she matters beyond her looks. And when a woman feels emotionally significant, physical desire follows naturally. You don't have to chase it. You also have to master silence. Sometimes the most powerful message is the one you don't send right away. Creating space lets her feel the absence of your presence. It gives her room to miss you, to wonder. When she sends something and you don't reply instantly, that pause becomes magnetic. If you've already built the right energy, don't abuse it, but use it. Let her feel that you're not always available, not because you're playing games, but because your life is full and you're choosing to let her into it. That feeling of being chosen, not chased, is addictive. It makes her want to earn your time. It makes her value your attention. And when she does, every message you send becomes more than words. It becomes a moment she savors, replays, and waits for all over again. When it comes to texting a woman in a way that makes her crave you, the secret lies in emotional layering. It's not just about saying the right thing. It's about creating a feeling she doesn't want to let go of. Most men think that being overly romantic or extremely direct will win her over, but the truth is, women respond to depth, nuance, and the tension between what's said and what's felt. If you can master the ability to say more with less, to create intrigue without forcing it, and to touch her thoughts without overwhelming her, you become the man who lives in her mind, even when her phone is silent. The first step is understanding her emotional language. This is different from logic or facts. Emotional language is about how your words feel. It's the difference between saying, "You looked good today," and "There's something about the way you walked into the room that made everything around you disappear." One is a compliment, the other is a cinematic moment she replays in her mind. When you speak to how she impacts the space, not just how she looks, you begin to connect with her deeper layers. This type of messaging makes her feel elevated, desired, and rare. And the more rare you make her feel, the more drawn she becomes to you. Women also crave polarity, the contrast between strength and softness. If all your texts are sweet and predictable, you become boring. If they're all dominant and edgy, you feel aggressive. But if you can switch between confidence and curiosity, boldness and warmth, control and invitation, you create emotional movement. That movement is where attraction is born. You might send something playful, like, "You're dangerously distracting today," followed later by something thoughtful like, "I'd genuinely love to know what makes you feel most alive." Now you're not just flirting, you're stirring her soul. She's laughing one moment and reflecting the next. That unpredictability keeps her locked in emotionally. Another powerful texting technique is open loops. These are messages that spark a thought, but don't close the door all the way. It could be something like, "There's something about the way you express yourself. I'll tell you what it is later." Or, "Remind me to tell you the thought I had about you today." These kinds of messages create anticipation. She'll think about them when she's busy, when she's alone, when she's scrolling through other conversations that don't make her feel half as alive. You've created a little hook in her mind, and she wants to follow where it leads. Tone is everything. If your texts sound like everyone else's, you blend in. If they feel like they came from a man who understands himself, his desires, and the effect he has, you stand out. Use voice notes when the text doesn't do justice to your tone. A slow, confident voice note that says, "I can't lie," "I like the way you get under my skin," has more effect than 1,000 emojis or memes. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. Every word, every pause, every emoji should feel like it has a purpose, like it came from someone who doesn't just want her attention, but knows how to handle it when he gets it. And finally, never underestimate the power of contrast. Surprise her. Don't always text good morning and good night. Text her in the middle of a storm. Send her a random note that says, "This would have been better if you were here." Keep her guessing in a good way. When your words carry a vibe that's unpredictable but safe, sexy but grounded, she starts to look forward to them. Not just for the message, but for the feeling they create. And that feeling becomes her emotional addiction, the kind she welcomes, replays, and begins to chase without even realizing why. So the next time you pick up your phone to text her, remember, you're not just sending words, you're sending energy. Make her feel something. Make her think. Make her wonder. Because once you've captured her mind, her heart, and body will follow without resistance.